G'day folks, and thanks for joining us on an Oz Cyclone Chasers National Cyclone Update today, the 24th of March 2015. My name's Chris Nizzo. This update sponsored by major sponsor Campbell Scientific Australia, when measurements matter. The biggest news to come from today is the tropical cyclone Nathan hit the coast to the west of Maningrida by about 40 or 50 kilometres and then has tracked inland through the day today in a southwest to west-southwest direction. Is expected to be located fairly close to Darwin overnight tonight. Then continuing west towards the Timor Sea, the Joseph Bonaparte Gulf and the Timor Sea. You can see the broad rotation associated with this system located here to the west of Jabiru, between Jabiru and Darwin. And what we can see also some very heavy rainfall affecting the northeast Arnhem district as well. Not really associated with the circulation centre itself, but in general associated with a north to northeasterly flow here, a convergent flow that's smashing into the coast of the East Arnhem districts, creating some very heavy rainfall through the past 24 hours. Zooming in a little on the circulation itself, and you can see it here very close to the southern coast of the Van Diemen's Gulf, pushing to the west towards Darwin, somewhere expected to probably move somewhere between Darwin and Bachelor overnight tonight. It's creating some moderate to heavy rain bands on the west coast here associated with it, and also creating some moderate to heavy rain bands across Owenpilly. But really, folks, there's nothing crazy in terms of the rainfall totals expected from this system. We take a look at the latest European forecast model. Firstly, we'll have a look at winds. We can see it located right here on the coast of the Van Diemen Gulf. Now, if we continue to track the system through to 10 p.m. tonight, we can see that it's fairly slowly moving to the west, so it's not expected to move very quickly. As it moves through Darwin sometime tomorrow morning, probably around about 7 a.m., for between 4 a.m. and 10 a.m. at this stage, the European model has the system tracking right over the top of the city. You can see fairly light winds associated with the actual centre of circulation, and only moderate to fresh winds outside of that circulation. If we track that through to tomorrow afternoon, you can see located just to the west of Darwin at that point, pushing in some 15 to 20 knot winds through the Van Diemen Gulf, and also 15 to 20 knot easterly winds to the south and northerly winds to the north associated with the circulation. But really nothing overly significant expected from the system over the northwest coast of the territory, and it is only going to be pushing fairly slowly to the west. The ridge that is guiding it isn't very strong at the moment. It is expected to strengthen, but it isn't very strong at the moment, and so because of that, we're not expecting to see the system moving in any sort of hurry over the next 24 hours. It did move in a hurry earlier today, but it will slow down now over the next 24 hours. Taking a look at rainfall expectations as we get into this evening, we can see that most of the rainfall is going to be located to the south of the system. But you can see here overnight tonight, certainly some showers pushing through the Darwin area, with the heaviest falls once again located to the south and east of the Ex Cyclone. As we go to tomorrow, we can see that some of that really heavier activity starts to affect Darwin itself. And you can see here some very nice rainfall developing right in a line right along the coastal strip tomorrow night and Thursday morning. Following on from that, as the system moves away, we tend to go back into the normal pattern of isolated showers and storms inland, with some very heavy rainfall developing offshore, but not really on the coast. You can see here on the access model that we're still looking at 10 a.m. Wednesday, and the system's still located to the east of Darwin. So you can see what I mean by the slow motion of this system. We're not expecting it to move west in a hurry. It's in no rush to push back into the Timor Sea just yet. So we can see here it's expected to, on the access model, expected to get over the top of Darwin around about 1 p.m. tomorrow. And you can also see where the heaviest rain lies in this southern quadrant, but also some rainfall developing to the north here on a northwesterly to northerly convergence zone. Once again, expecting to see heavy rainfall continuing along the Arnhem district and the top end coastline. As we go to tomorrow night, you can see the system finally starts to get a bit of a move on and tracks away from Darwin itself, just to the west here of Darwin, and continues to track away to the west. And you can see as it does so, once it does track away to the west, there may be the opportunity here for some heavy rainfall right on the coastal fringe. It's not expected to be lying too far inland, but certainly right on the coastal fringe we could see some very heavy rainfall in that northerly convergence zone. As we continue to track this away through to Thursday, you can see it pushes west into the Timor Sea. No significant deepening, but just a gradual intensification of the system. Again, not quite to cyclone status, but you can also see how it clears the weather over the Northern Territory once it pushes west into the Timor Sea. If we take a look at the longer term computer forecast model guidance, we can see that the once offshore in the Timor Sea, it's expected to track to the west or west-southwest for a while longer before showing signs of a recurvature back towards the Pilbara coast. Now, at this stage, computer models overall suggest the system will remain a low. They won't intensify, but we do need to keep an eye on it out here in the Indian Ocean. Now, the biggest issue with the Indian Ocean systems this time of year tends to be dry air entrainment, because what we do tend to see is that unless they're attached to a fairly strong monsoonal flow, they don't have much of a northerly feed of moisture to them. Without that moisture, all that's left is this dry desert air coming out into the Indian Ocean from high pressure ridges. And so what we need to see is some moisture in this system, otherwise it will be too dry to be able to sustain itself over the water. So no matter how much energy it can get from the surface, from the water surface, which is a hell of a lot of energy, by the way, because the water surface temperatures are about 30 plus degrees, it just simply cannot maintain its convective processes for an extended range of time because the atmosphere above the Earth's surface is too dry. So if we take a look at the low pressure system as we go to day 3, which is on the Friday, and we then have a look at the moisture levels in the surrounding atmosphere, we can see there's a lot of moisture still attached to it from the northeast coming in along whatever's left of the monsoon trough. But also to the west here, you can see a lot of dry air coming up from the Pilbara, from inland parts of WA, and wrapping right into Indonesia. Now, so we've got a constant battle that this system's been having between dry and moist air. So far, throughout its life cycle, the moist air has been winning. And so there's been enough moisture coming in here from the northeast into the circulation to allow it to keep going. You can see here that really that dry air is creeping dangerously close to the center of circulation. If I just get rid of that, so this is sort of where the dry air is getting to. Let's have another quick look at where the actual system will lie at its center. You can see that dry air is almost penetrating into the center of circulation here from the west. The other thing we have to start watching this time of year out there in the Southeast Indian Ocean is vertical wind shear. Now, vertical wind shear doesn't look like it's going to be too big an issue just yet, early in the piece, but it might become a bigger issue early next week when it gets closer to the Pilbara coast. So here's the location of the low expected to be on Friday. Here's the location of the low on Saturday. You can see now the southeast quadrant is packing some gales on the system, so it might be marginally favourable conditions for a tropical cyclone to redevelop there, for Tropical Cyclone Nathan to get itself going again. If we take a look at the moisture levels in the atmosphere, once again you see this constant battle, dry air, moist air. And we see that wind shear is low to moderate, so we've got about 15 to 25 knots of wind shear. Not ideal, but certainly not enough to completely kill off a tropical cyclone. So there it is on Saturday. On Sunday, it continues to drift out here to the west. Once again, you've got the possibility of gales in the southeastern quadrant. And once again, if we take a look at the two other parameters that we're always watching for, is the humidity levels. You can see here, dry air now really starting to wrap into the circulation here, really limiting its potential. It's lost its feed of moisture from the north, so no longer can it rely on that equatorial air mass to come in and push in warm, moist air into the circulation. So it is really living on borrowed time now. And if we have a look at the shear values at the time, we can also start to see shear values, particularly to the southwest of it, really increasing. But over the top of the system, shear values are still reasonably good. So once again, that's what's happening on Sunday. By Monday, we have a situation where we start to see an upper level trough pushing through the area. So here is the circulation Monday, and then if we take a look at the humidity values now, we can see this humid area or humid air mass coming through. That's in advance of an upper level trough. We've certainly lost the feed of moisture from the equator, but we now have a feed of moisture from an upper trough. So in this situation, the system could start to exhibit signs of transitioning to an extratropical cyclone. And if we take then a look at the wind shear values, you'll start to see that shear increases dramatically, and that's all associated with an upper level trough, which is aligned in this direction here. Now, as we know, if you've been following these broadcasts, upper level troughs will push cyclones and lows in that direction, and guess what happens? So there's our low on Monday, and by Tuesday our low is now hitting the coast as a trough system in and around the Exmouth to Coral Bay to Shark Bay area. But it is once again only a trough system at that stage. Fairly similar sort of scenario here from the GFS, where we've got the low just as a trough system really located just to the west here of Exmouth, just to the northwest of Shark Bay. So for now, folks, that's all we got time for, so please enjoy some rain. If you happen to live in Darwin, looks like most of the rain won't hit you until the system is just to your west. So according to most of the computer models right now, that looks to be the case, more so around tomorrow afternoon to tomorrow night. We'll have a subscriber update in the morning and another National Public Video update tomorrow night, and after that we'll cease issuing the National Public updates and make them every 2 days again.